it is what I do. I take CBD every morning. I put it in my coffee. There's lots of different ways that you can take CBD. And that's part of, kind of what we're here today to talk about, right? It comes in tinctures, which is the bottles, that's the liquid form. It comes in gummies. It comes in pills and gel caps and all these different things. And it really is, it helps with a lot of things. And for me, it's all about mood enhancing and helping kind of maintain my medical history and maintain how I kind of function on a daily basis. So it does help with my mood. It makes me feel better in the morning. It helps me get the energy that I need to deal and to handle my three boys and all the different things that I have going. So I'm excited today to kind of talk through it and share with you some really cool information. So just to kind of dig into it a little bit, CBD at its root is cannabidiol, right? So it's been around forever, right? So it's a natural compound. It's found in plants and a lot of living things, but it's also in our bodies, right? We manufacture and have this really cool product in ourselves, and it works among us, right? So everything is kind of connected with it. Some fun stories about that, right? Like the U.S. Constitution, the first American flag, the sails that were used when they came across the ocean, all made out of hemp, right? It's because it was this really cool product that is resilient, can be used for a lot of different things, and is really very, very versatile. We even think a lot about, 15, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago, when farmers were manufacturing and growing hemp, and cannabis was interdispensed in the crops. And as we've sort of rooted some of that out, as we have better farming, we have different farming situations now, some of that natural stuff is removed out, and we're seeing some of the repercussions of that, because it used to be included in some of our grains and our fruits and our vegetables. We've kind of removed a lot of that, and that's why we're seeing, we think, and some of the science is backing it up, we're seeing upticks in allergies and medicines and other different things. And so CBD's been around, hemp's been around for a really long time, and we're just sort of bringing it back mainstream. And we're seeing some really cool, promising therapies that is being a part of that. And again, I mentioned there's lots of different ways that you can consume this product, right? Again, the most common on the CBD side is going to be in your tincture format, which is the liquid form, the gummy format, which is kind of an edible piece, or potentially pills. But there's lots of other things. There's creams. There's other. I put it in my coffee every morning, but there's lots of ways. And just to make sure, we can talk about those products and which ones are best for you. And we'll get into the regulations here in a minute and which ones you should take and which ones you shouldn't. But just be careful about all that.
So Ryan, question for you. When you talk about the different products, Jeff, can you go back to that other slide just for a second, please? When you talk about the other products, there are products that have CBD in them, like toilet paper, toothpaste,
right.
bath bombs, toothpicks, right?
Sure.
What's the science behind these, and are they really effective?
So I would say yes and no, right? Like, toothpicks, toilet paper, I would say that is more of a gimmick than real. Toilet paper, maybe, just for that, just because it's not providing any benefit on the CBD side. Now, is it better produced? Is it better for the environment? Will it be more durable? Is it a little more gritty? Yes. But as far as, is it going to help you as far as ingesting and making your body healthy? No, right? Bath bombs, I would even say a little bit, you're going to get some benefit. You're probably going to get more benefit from the lavender and other things that are in the Epsom salt that's in the bath bombs and the CBD. You're going to absorb some of that, but it's not enough in there to really make a difference. That's one of those really interesting things about CBD. CBD is more, and my medical friends would kind of cringe on this, it's more in tune to a vitamin than a pain medicine, right? You have to ingest it in your body. You can't really, you can, but you can't take too much. So it works like vitamins, right? It takes time to build up in your system, and it also, you expunge the things that you don't need, right? So we recommend taking somewhere between 15 and 50 milligrams a day. Is kind of the, depending on your body weight, depending on your age, all of that, right? So we recommend that, and we would recommend taking it in a form that makes sense, right? In a tincture, in a gummy, in a supplement form, any types of things that you can absorb into your body, and that's in 5 to 25 milligram doses at a time. Toothpicks, not doing anything for you. Now, there's cool things like honey. That's kind of fun because it activates it really quickly, right? So it's the sugars and everything else that's in the honey. It gets into your system very quickly, and it starts to move through there. So just, yeah, I would stay away from some of the gimmicky products.
Don't waste your money.
Don't waste your money. Right? I mean, again, and if you want to use hemp toilet paper to knock yourself out, I wouldn't, because it's not going to be solid.
And you're wasting your money, I imagine.
Right. Exactly.
Really, really expensive.
Exactly. So let me talk to you just really quickly. I won't bore you with it, but it is kind of a cool story. So I've had eye issues my whole life. I had glasses when I turned 5, and I've had them since. And about, it's almost 7, 8 years ago by now, I was driving to St. Louis with my family to see my grandma for her 90th birthday. And I had this really weird thing happening where my eye was just going black, right? And it just looked like it was being painted black as I was going. And when I got to St. Louis, Tara, my wife Tara's aunt, is a nurse, and she's like, "This is serious. You need to get to the hospital." Long story short, turns out I was losing, my retina was detaching, and it completely detached in St. Louis, some emergency surgery there, and then back in Grand Rapids. And I lost the retina in my left eye. They were able to reattach, sort of. So I have partial vision in that eye, and then my right eye was starting to do the same thing. And about that time, I was meeting with my now current business partner, Mike, and he was working with a friend that was kind of getting into the CBD market. And I was like, "This sounds interesting. Let's give it a try." And so they gave me some, and I started testing it, and I started using it. And about 3 months later, I went back into my eye doctor. My eye pressure was down from 35, which was really, really high, down to 17. So, and the only thing that I changed was taking CBD, and my doctor was like, "This can't be true." So we tested it again for another 2 months, and it held steady. My right eye, the retina slightly detached, but it held in because of the product, right? So I can't say it was completely because of CBD medically, because there's no research that says that, but I know for sure that's what happened. So as that was happening, and we're like, "Hey, this is a cool product. This is something that we're going to I'm going to use," and I'm an innovator and a new product developer by trade. And I thought, well, I don't know what's out there. I don't know if we can trust it. Why don't we just do it ourselves? So that's why we started the company, so that we know that what we're manufacturing and selling is going to be something that we would use ourselves and we would give to our families and friends. So that's kind of,
that's incredible, Ryan, that, you know, it literally changed your outlook and your vision.
Yeah, it did. And what we really think about is, you know, I use it every day, right? And that's one of those things, as a new product developer and a new product designer, we get asked to promote and to bring different products to market, and some we love and some we just do. We know that won't work. And this definitely is something that I'm behind, and we've been a part of this for about 5 or 6 years now. And again, my mom, my kids, my grandma, my good friends, they all take it because we know that that's one of our things, right? That if we wouldn't put it in our own bodies and give it to our own families, we're not going to take it out into the market. So that's what we do. And,
yeah,
and there's it saved my vision for sure. Sorry, Jen.
Yeah. And there are a lot of anecdotal stories about how this has helped, but there's not a lot of science behind it though either. So that's where it's
tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. There is some. So the University of some down south, they're doing a little bit of research, Michigan State and a few others. Overseas, in Turkey and Belgium and places that cannabis and has been legal for a long time, has some studies. But you're right, there's not a lot of really good research out there to vet this, because up until a few years ago, it was federally illegal. And so there hasn't been a lot of funding behind it. So I talked a little bit about this, and this is a really cool thing, right? And I am not a scientist. I'm a marketing guy by trade, but we have scientists behind us that work with us on our team, and there's a lot of things out there. But this is really cool. Our bodies are super connected, right? And CBD really works and helps play with this, right? So everything is connected, from our brains to our lungs to our nervous systems. I was just in Chicago at the Museum of Science and Industry, and they have this really cool show right now, and it shows all the different bodies ripped apart and shown in different ways. And you're like, whoa, that's awesome how it all kind of works together. And that literally is, it's all interconnected. And what CBD does, think of it like an Afghan or a quilt, right? It literally, there's all these really cool receptors, and there's holes in there, right? And what CBD does is fill those holes and makes those connections a little more solid and a little more easy. We think of CBD as a helper, right? So it's not necessarily, it does do really great things, and it helps fill those holes. It helps make your blood flow better, helps the connections to your brain work better. It makes all these things work a little bit better, but it also helps. Right, so I went back to my Afghan quilt. It fills in those holes and makes it smoother. Everything's connected, but there's pieces. Makes it a little smoother. But it also helps. So if I'm taking CBD and THC, if I'm taking CBD and a anti-inflammatory pill, it's going to help move that along, because it's making those connections and it's making everything else work a little harder and a little bit better. So our body is really cool. It's made for this stuff. We're just helping give it a little bit extra what it needs. But again, and this is where I'll use my mom because I love her and she wouldn't care, right? My mom started taking one of our products and was like, it's not working. Like, Mom, you've only been using it 2 days, but my back still hurts. And I'm like, but then a couple of weeks later, I'm like, how's it working? She's like, well, my back still hurts, but it's better. I'm like, but how's your mood? How are you feeling? Are you less anxious? And my dad's like, yeah, it's working. You're not as anxious. You're going to keep taking it, right? So there's all these little things. If you have a broken back and you're taking a product, probably not going to make you better, but it may make you, it's not going to fix it, but it's going to make it better. It may make you feel less anxious. It may make you sleep better at night. It may give some aches and pains a little bit more, because all this stuff is working together. And that's why we liken it to a vitamin more than a pill, because it takes a little time to get in there and start working together. But it's a really cool piece.
Ryan, we have a question. Somebody's asking, are there any contraindications?
So I have to say, consult with your doctor first, but no, you may get a little bit, we have seen some things that say, you could get upset stomach with some of this, just like anything. Maybe you have a little bit of nausea. You shouldn't have any issues and no contraindications with any of this stuff. You should be able to take it with all your other medicines. But again, talk to your physician, talk to your primary care physician before you before you work with any of that.
Yeah, and I did talk to a couple of doctors ahead of time to just get some medical advice about this. And one of the things that they said is for some people, they have no effect with using CBD or cannabis products. Other people have the desired effect, and some people actually do have negative effects with it. So there, the stories, the anecdotal stories are great, but there are also people who have had negative repercussions using it too. So again, there's not a lot of research around this. So as Ryan said, talk to your doctor, because you just don't know, what the contraindications could be.
And I would say too, and I know it's one of the things we'll talk about, but just make sure you're getting good quality products that have been tested and from a reputable place. And but if there's issues, and if you have issues and all of a sudden you're feeling bad, talk to your doctor, discontinue use of it, and then just kind of work through that. So there's a lot of stuff out there, right? And I just wanted to mention this quickly, and we won't spend a lot of time on it, but there's a difference, right? There's CBD and there's THC, and there's Delta 8, and there's CBN and CBG and CBR and all this different stuff, right? But the CBD and THC are 2 of about 100 different cannabinoids found in the plant. So THC comes from the marijuana plant, CBD comes from the hemp plant. You can also pull CBD from the cannabis plant, from the marijuana plant. But just again, this is just to say they are 2 very different things. They're similar but different, right? And if we can go to the next slide, we can talk a little bit more about it. So it's really, so I guess when you're looking at products, you can get CBD only products, you can get THC and CBD. That would be called a 1-to-1 or a 4-to-1 or a 2-to-1, right? That has the both in it. So cannabis in a nutshell, or THC in a nutshell, has high THC, has some psycho active ingredients. It's not legal in every state, and it will get you high. And by high, we mean it has some sort of mind-altering effects. Now, I'm going to stop for just a second. So does CBD. CBD won't get you that high feeling where you're tired or sleepy or feeling sort of disconnected, but it does definitely change the makeup of your body, but you shouldn't feel much, right? You may feel an uplift in mood. You may feel an uplift in energy level. You may feel a downlift a little bit for sleeping, right? So just know it is body altering, but it's not that high feeling, and it's not the psychoactive feeling that you're going to get for THC. CBD is legal in all states, most states. There's a few that it's not. You can pass a drug test if anyone's worried about that. You don't have to worry about not being able to function during the day. It's literally just a helper that's going to make you feel a little bit better. So again, just be careful what you're buying. You can't buy THC products over the counter, in a drugstore, in a gas station, any of that stuff. If it has any THC in it, it's regulated by our state, and you have to go to a licensed care provider or a legal dispensary in order to get it. CBD you can buy in a lot of different places. So just some thoughts about that.
Yeah, and speaking of where to buy CBD, I've been in video stores before where they're selling CBD, and I kind of raised an eyebrow and thought, I just questioned the validity of it or the efficacy of the product. So can you talk about where the safe place is to buy CBD oil?
Sure. So I would personally, I would buy it at a reputable place. I would buy it from a pharmacy if they sell it. I would buy it from a store that like a CBD store, an online store like ours. I would buy it from a doctor. I would not personally buy it from a gas station. It's really easy to to get CBD and to manufacture a product. What's not easy and not inexpensive is the testing part of it. Make sure the product has been tested, because we have to send it to lab testing so we know what the CBD content is in there, how much is in there, what it says in the bottle. Make sure that that's actually true. It's really hard for you as a consumer to test that, but the people that are selling it and the people that are manufacturing absolutely should have that information, and then you can then read it, right? So that we say it has 100 milligrams of CBD or 33 milligrams per serving in there. We have documentation that comes all the way back from the manufacturer. So we get a lab result from them that tells us what's in it. Once we make it, we get it tested, and then we're within 5 to 10% points either way that what we say is in there actually is, and the reputable ones have that, right? And you are able to test that. So just make sure, you know what you're buying. Yeah,
I think one of the most, I guess, frightening things about this though is the lack of regulation around it. So you mentioned, making sure that you do your due diligence, and we have the website up there where you can go to michigan.gov/MRA and do some research, because the lack of regulation, I think, is the hardest part in making sure that you really have a good quality product.
It is, and the MRA they're our friends. They're the ones that are regulating both markets, right? So they're regulating the marijuana side, the THC side of it, and the CBD side. They're going to be the ones where you can find all the information that you need about that. And then do your research too, right? The FDA on a federal level, so if you just type in FDA CBD in a Google search, it'll take you to a site that gives you lots of really great information about what the different types are, what's out there, and how do you regulate it, and how do you find the right thing. One real quick thing on that too is we've seen just last week, the governor and the MRA is cracking down even on another product called Delta 8. Delta 8 is one more piece of this puzzle. Delta 8 comes from the THC plant. It's a piece that gets ripped out, and it's less, it gets you less high, but it still can get you that high feeling, right? And that currently, so I take back a little bit what I said, that currently is being sold in smoke shops and gas stations and other places around in Michigan. I would stay away from Delta 8 because you just don't know what's in there. You don't know how much THC is in there. You don't know how much product is in there. So just be really careful. And if you are interested in the THC products, go to a licensed dispensary. They have really great people that can help you. If you're just looking for CBD products, go to a place that feels like it's a legitimate store that sells really good products. That's kind of mine. And go to the MRA, right? Yeah. To take a look at some of those things if you have lots of questions.
Yeah. And you mentioned the Delta 8 product. And what about CBN oil? I know that's a newer oil. So what about CBN?
So CBN, similar to CBG and CBR, all those different things are a component of the hemp plant. So CBN is going to be just like CBD, only it boosts up a little bit more. CBN helps a little bit more with relaxation, helps a little bit more with sleep, helps a little bit more with pain. So it's a component of the hemp plant. So instead of CBD, it's CBN, it's CBR. So it's all kind of the same thing, and it's all, again, regulated. We know on that list that we would get, it would tell you the components, how much of each of those is in there. So it's fine. That's a fine piece. Anything that kind of starts with the C side, CBN, CBG, CBD, all of that is a component of the hemp plant, and you're fine. You're fine with taking any of that, but you should know how much is in there.
Yeah. Do your due diligence, research the product.
Exactly. All right. And then these are just, some cool things. There's another layer. So when you buy in there, right, you can get full spectrum, you can get isolate, you can get broad spectrum. and then the Delta 8 piece that I mentioned before. Isolate is pure CBD. It's just the way that we refine it when we take it from the plant. So think of it like sugar, like a sugar cane. You pull up this really tall plant, it goes through a grinder, a press, lots of different things, and something comes out at the end. And the something is either isolate, full spectrum, or broad spectrum, or Delta 8. Isolate is a white powder that is 99.9% CBD. It's pure as we can get. We put that in gummies and other things if you want no taste and you want no THC. So if you're looking and need to be drug tested for anything, or you want really pure CBD, isolate's the way to go. Full spectrum and broad spectrum are similar, but they have a little bit left, right? We strip everything out of isolate. On the full spectrum and the broad spectrum, we leave some of the terpenes in. Terpenes are those cool helpers that do a little bit more, right? They're the vitamin plus, right? They have the CBG and the CBN and a little bit on the full spectrum of the THC. They work a little harder because they have more product in there, but we have to say full spectrum has 0.3% THC, broad spectrum doesn't, but just again, it's just a different level of what's in there. Terpenes, that's another thing to think about. Those are, again, those are the things that kind of add flavor and add help to it. So just lots of different things when you're thinking about like what sort of milligrams do I need and what kind of CBD, right? There's lots of things that you kind of have to think through when you're buying the products.
Okay.
We talked a little bit about that. Yeah, just all the different pieces and what it does. Yeah, if you go to the next slide for me. So this just, people are like, what does it do? Right. So it can help with a lot of things. Again, we can't guarantee it. We can't claim it, but we can say we know that it helps with pain. It helps with sleep. It helps with stress. It helps with depression and anxiety and inflammation. So if you're interested, talk to your healthcare provider. In the last 3 or 4 years, they've been a lot. Also helps with pets too. I have 2 Huskies. One's old and one's young, and I give it to both of them because they're really excitable, and sometimes they need it. And especially over 4th of July, we were giving it to them, and it just helps them kind of relax and calm down a little bit. Not every day. We just pour a little bit right in their food, and we just move about our day. So it helps with a lot of different things. And then the last slide, we're mostly for Michigan, but not everybody. This is just kind of where, and again, MRA can help you with that. FDA can help you with that. CBD is technically legal in all the states. And when I say technically, I mean the isolate-based. Some of the ones that have the lines on it and are not legal for some of our Delta 8 or our full spectrum products. But again, just look. The problem is CBD is protected by the Farm Bill, so we are legal to sell, to manufacture in all the states. Cannabis and THC is federally illegal, but it is legal in certain states. So what we produce you can't, if we produced something, if we produced a cannabis product in Michigan, we could not sell it to our friends in Ohio or Wisconsin or Illinois because that would be federally illegal to transport over state lines. So CBD is fine. We can do that. But THC, if you have a 1-to-1 or a combination of those, you can't buy it in one place and sell it somewhere else. So just be careful. You should be fine. If you're doing CBD, again, you're fine. And if you're using a cannabis product and if you're getting it from a licensed provider, you're fine too. But just know that we're not fully on board yet across the U.S.
Yeah, and of course we're in Michigan and it's fully legal. But people that are outside Michigan watching this can go to weedmaps.com and they can find out about the legality of their state, whatever pending legislation might be in progress, and even to find out if it's legal for medical use.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Ryan, we have one last question. the person wants to know, the viewer wants to know, does CBD have any taste?
Oh, that's really fun. So yes and no, right? So the isolate, that's the kind that's stripped down as much as we can. It doesn't, right? So that comes in a powder form. We would put it in. It has to have some sort of binding agent. That's why you put it in a gummy or you put it in a tincture. Our tinctures are made with pharmaceutical grade MCT oil, so it tastes like MCT oil and whatever it's flavored with. Now the full spectrum and the broad spectrum, they still have some of those terpenes in it and some of the other things, so it has a planty taste, right? It doesn't taste like marijuana or weed, but it definitely has a little bit of a planty taste. Some of it does. And then it all depends on what you put in there with it. So CBD isolate, stripped down as much as we can, has no taste. Just full spectrum and broad spectrum and Delta 8 have a little bit of a tangy, planty taste.
Okay. And we do have one last question. I thought that was the last question, but one more just popped in. So Pamela wants to know, can you take CBD over state lines?
You can. And
can you fly with it too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, you can even fly with marijuana.
Okay.
Which is crazy. But CBD, you're totally fine. CBD, you're fine for sure.
All right, perfect. Well, Ryan, thank you so much. Thanks for being here today and sharing your expertise. So we appreciate it. And if viewers want to get in touch with you, if they have a question, how can they reach you?
So the best way is my email. It's ryan@grandremedycbd.com. Or you can call me. I'm at 616-439-4701. But email's the best, and just shoot me a note, and I'd be happy to talk more about it and answer any questions that you may have. I know it's complicated and there's a lot to it, and we could talk for a lot longer, but I'm happy to talk more.
And like you said, it wasn't that long ago that this was illegal in the state of Michigan, and I was trying to make sense of it. So there's a lot of questions surrounding it. So again, thank you, Ryan. So to our viewers, Learn a Latte is the first and third Wednesday of each month at 10 a.m. right here on Facebook. And our next Learn a Latte is on healthy aging in August. And then tomorrow we have a virtual presentation to help you get started planting your fall garden. And we also have experts talking about Medicare scams and on age-friendly communities in the next week. So for a full list of virtual events, visit aarp.org/MI. And thank you and have a great day.